When someone tells you they cheated, there's pain. But when they tell you why they did it, that's the kind of thing that burns through your soul. I'm Adam, 34 years old. I've been married to my wife Rachel for 5 years. I thought we had a solid life. Not perfect, but built on trust and quiet understanding. I worked long hours in engineering, and she ran a small photography business from home. We had our routines, our inside jokes, our Sunday breakfasts. The kind of marriage that feels safe, ordinary, predictable. Until the night she sat me down on the couch and said she was pregnant. I remember the way her hands trembled slightly, her eyes searching mine for a reaction. I froze for a second, stunned, not because I didn't want it, but because it was unexpected. I smiled anyway, reached for her hand and said, "Wow, really? That's incredible." But she didn't smile back. She just bit her lip, her eyes darting to the floor. "Adam, it's not yours." The words hit me like a blunt strike to the chest. For a moment I couldn't even process them. The air felt heavier. My pulse roared in my ears. "What do you mean it's not mine?" I asked slowly, though I already knew. She sighed, tears forming. I reconnected with someone. My ex, Daniel. It was a mistake, I swear. It just happened once. I stared at her. This woman I trusted more than anyone. My mind tried to fill in the blanks, the lies, the details of every normal day that suddenly felt like a setup. Once. I repeated, my voice low. "And that one time just happened to give you a child?" She looked away, shame in her voice. "It's not like that. Daniel and I were talking again. It wasn't supposed to happen, but it did," I said, cutting her off. The silence between us stretched until it hurt. Then she whispered something that shattered whatever was left of me. "I know it's hard to hear," she said quietly, "but maybe it's for the best. Daniel has stronger genes, better DNA. Maybe this happened for a reason." I just stared at her. My mind went blank, then white hot. "Better DNA?" I repeated, almost laughing. "Are you serious?" She nodded, tears falling. "You've always been great, Adam, but maybe this is fate's way of showing me what an absolute fool I've been?" I snapped. "Yeah, maybe it is." I stood up, hands shaking, heart pounding. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just walked to the kitchen, grabbed my car keys and said, "I'm done talking." And for the first time in our marriage, she didn't try to stop me. I drove aimlessly for hours that night. City lights blurred into streaks of white and gold while my thoughts spun like a storm. I didn't know where to go. Every place felt poison with memories of her. The diner where we used to grab late-night pancakes. The park where she made me promise we'd always be honest with each other. All of it now felt like one long, expensive lie. I ended up in my car outside the office, sitting in the dark, staring at the reflection of a man who looked like me but wasn't. There was anger in his eyes, disbelief, but beneath all that, something worse, humiliation. Because while she was talking about superior DNA, I'd been out here breaking my back to build a life for us. A home. A future. The next morning I came back to the house. She was sitting at the kitchen table, puffy-eyed, holding a mug she wasn't drinking from. The smell of coffee mixed with the quiet tension in the air. "I didn't sleep," she said softly. "I didn't either," I replied. She tried to reach for my hand, but I pulled back. "Don't," I said flatly. "Adam, I made a mistake. Please just listen." "No, Rachel. You made a choice," I cut in. "You slept with another man, got pregnant, and now you're justifying it with genetics. That's not a mistake. That's ego dressed as logic." Her lips trembled. "I didn't mean it that way. Then how did you mean it?" I asked. "Because to me, it sounded like you're saying I'm not good enough to be a father." She stayed silent, eyes glossy with guilt. For the next few days, the house was filled with nothing but silence. I slept in the guest room. She tiptoed around me like a stranger. Every time I looked at her, I saw not the woman I married, but the woman who destroyed everything with one sentence. One afternoon I came home early. Her phone was on the counter, lighting up with a notification from Daniel. The preview read, "Have you told him about us yet?" Something inside me snapped again, but this time it wasn't rage, it was clarity. I realized there was no coming back from this. Not emotionally. Not mentally. Not in any way that could ever make sense again. That night I packed a suitcase. When she saw it, she started crying, asking where I was going. Somewhere peaceful, I said quietly. Somewhere I don't have to compete with DNA. And then I walked out. The first few weeks after I left were strange, quiet in a way that felt both lonely and liberating. I rented a small apartment near the lake. It wasn't much, but it was mine. No reminders of her perfume on the couch. No framed wedding photos mocking me from the walls. Just peace. Heavy, unfamiliar peace. I went through the motions at work, but something inside had shifted. I stopped checking her social media, stopped wondering if she'd call, stopped replaying the night she told me those words. Slowly, I began to breathe again. There was a kind of freedom in letting go of someone who'd made you question your worth. 2 months later, Rachel showed up outside my building. She looked smaller somehow, tired, regret written all over her face. "Adam, please," she said when I opened the door. "Can we talk?" I hesitated, then nodded. We sat across from each other, the silence between us stretching like a canyon. Finally, she whispered, "I'm sorry. I don't know what I was thinking. Daniel's gone. He wants nothing to do with the baby." I stared at her, expressionless. "So now you come back because he left?" "No," she said quickly. "Because I miss you. Because I realize what I lost." I let out a humorless laugh. "You didn't lose me, Rachel. You threw me away." She started crying, and for the first time I didn't feel anything. Not pity, not anger, just clarity. The kind that only comes when you've walked through fire and come out on the other side. "I filed for divorce," I said quietly. "You'll get the papers soon." Her eyes widened. "Please don't do this. I made a mistake, but we can fix it." "There's nothing left to fix," I said. "You made me believe that love was about worth, that some people are built better, stronger, more deserving. But love isn't about DNA, Rachel. It's about loyalty. And you failed the only test that mattered." She sobbed harder, but I stood up, ready to end it. "You were right about one thing," I added as I walked her to the door. "This happened for a reason. Because I needed to discover something too, freedom." When she left, the air felt lighter. I stood there for a long time, looking out the window at the water shimmering in the distance. For the first time in months, I didn't feel broken. I felt reborn. And maybe that's what true self-discovery really means. Not finding someone better than you, but finding yourself after someone tried to make you feel like less.